Hi everyone. So the person I chose to interview for the ethical dilemma assignment was Marcy Bailey. She is a community relations specialist at the college that I work at and has served there for 7 years. She shared with me a story that really stood out to her, I think, as a prominent ethical situation that she dealt with in her role. And this story revolved around her working with some part-time staff and kind of her role in that situation. So basically, her role as a part with the part-time staff was to kind of help manage their time base and oversee that they had tasks to do to keep their time kept busy and of that nature. And so at the time when this situation occurred, she had two part-time staff members. The first staff member was a young male student who had a criminal background history, and he had served time and often openly shared his background with gang life and how that had affected him. And then the other student was a young woman who was a single mother. And so these two students, she said, were great part-time staff members. She loved working with them. They got along great with the team. They got along great together. They both brought a lot of insight and charismatic relations to the department. And so what basically happened was Marcy had gone on vacation for a week, and upon returning from vacation, she had been confronted by the young female student and was told that the male student had said that he worked hours when he hadn't actually worked. And so he basically had lied on his timesheet. And she came to Marcy in confidence and didn't want anyone to know, but felt like ethically and morally that she needed to tell Marcy about the situation. And so in that situation was kind of the dilemma that Marcy brought forward to me. So I felt like the main stakeholders in the situation were the two part-time staff and Marcy, since she was kind of overseeing the role. She wasn't a manager. She was just helping guide them and overall providing some assignments for them and tracking their timesheets. The main conflicts that really I felt like made this an ethical dilemma were addressing that the student I'm sorry, okay, so are addressing the student who is not properly accounting for his hours and keeping the student's source confidential who had came forward, and making sure to do what's right by the college and kind of follow the college policy. Initially, my gut reaction on this when she told me was, wow, that's a tough situation to be in, especially when you have a personal relationship with these people and you really enjoy working with them. But I felt that something had to be done and action needed to be taken. And so and foreseeable consequences that could occur from that could range from anything from just having a simple discussion and letting it go with a warning, asking them to resubmit their timesheet, or ultimately I think it's something that someone could lose their job over. So my proposed solution for this scenario was that if I was in Marcy's situation, because she isn't in a management level, and I myself find that I'm at a really basic level in my ethical learning and understanding, I would have went and talked to a superior. And one reason I said that also is, when I read through like the NASPA ethical professional practice, it often talks about utilizing your institutional and professional resources. And so consulting with someone who is more experienced is probably where I would have went in this situation. So that would have been my first step. After talking to the supervisor, I think from there I would have wanted to take the direction that they provided me back to the student. And another thing that I think that this brought up in regards to NASPA's professional practice is the ability to identify and seek to resolve areas of incongruence between personal, institutional, and professional ethical standards. So knowing that there was obviously a disconnect between what the student felt was obviously okay for him to do and what the college would have expected. And then after doing that, talking to him, while I was having that conversation, I think before I went into it, I would really thoroughly think about how I wanted to see the communication go. Making sure, like we heard about in Yates' discussions, that the communication needs to be open, it needs to be honest, direct, and frequent. And so making sure that when I was going into the situation that I thoroughly felt comfortable talking to the student, and I was able to make that student feel comfortable as well, and the staff with the situation that had gone on hand. So in this situation, I feel if it was the student's first mistake and who had a background history of having maybe some moral struggles, I think that I would have asked the student to submit new hours and have that conversation to make sure that clearly the student understands that it's not okay, and explain ethically why it's not okay, what the guidelines are, and tell them it really is their one and only chance to not make that mistake again. And I also would want to make sure while I was doing that the student felt like they truly had the opportunity to all like what Yates discussed in that article, to feel like they're being heard and that it's a two-way conversation and not just me lecturing them, making sure that they understand and can ask questions if there's any kind of confusion. And overall, I would say that the moral themes in this ethical dilemma were really focused on trust and honesty and providing consistency for the student, and that they understand the way that the department works and the college expectations as a staff member. And moving forward with the team, I would hope that we would continue to develop a place that's safe and open with all forms of communication. And if a staff member doesn't feel like they can fulfill their hours, or if they're overwhelmed as a student, that they would feel that they could come and tell us and that they wouldn't have to lie about that. And I think that that would really be a big goal for me. And one quote that I really felt fit strongly with from Nash's article was that spirited and candid conversations aimed at getting to the heart of some sustainable truths are more likely to occur when all of us on college campuses feel safe and supported enough to speak our truths and process to one another. And so making sure that that's a community that we're building in our department and on campus with each other, working together, especially with our student staff who are really starting from the beginning with their ethical learning and ethical foundations in a career. And as a result, after discussing this with Marcy, at the end I found out that she had pretty much followed the same procedure that I had, which made me feel good about the decisions and what I had thought through with this process and how I would handle it. So anyway, thanks for listening. I'm sorry that I don't have anything super creative for this. I have very limited YouTube skills, and I'm surprised that this is even working right now. So anyway, have a great week, and I look forward to watching everyone else's videos and reading your posts.